Meanwhile, the blue-collar boom, job searches are hitting Americans particularly hard this year. Businesses are currently hiring at the lowest rate since 2013, so people are getting creative, specifically older Americans who are turning to side hustles and blue-collar jobs to earn a paycheck. In fact, nearly 30% of older workers are doing gig work. Now, I don't know if this is sort of the gig economy, the flexibility, or if then we've talked a lot, Charles, in the past where if I can get 2 jobs instead of 1 because inflation was killing me, or is this a real boom that you see?
Oh, boy. I think it's more necessity than boom, per se, which is unfortunate. You just talk about, egg prices on one hand and this on the other. But I am glad that older workers, by the way, there's a major, major desire for older workers. They just,
right.
I don't care what anybody says. I walk into an Apple store and all those young kids, man, they're bad. They're just, they just tell them go out there and sell them as much stuff as you can. They don't know the product. It really is awful, the salesmanship out there. And just these older workers are reliable. They're happy to have the job. They're polite. So I'm happy that they're finding these jobs, although I think a lot of them are doing it because they have to.
You know, it's really interesting, too. If you look at the states where the largest percentage of retirement age adults are still working, they're all blue states.
Yeah.
Because they can't manage to make ends meet. And that's the problem. It's actually not a laughing matter at all. But more and more people that I speak to say, I'm going to work a little longer. I'm not going to retire just yet. I can't physically or financially do it. And there's something wrong with that mentality.
Especially when you're in an industry like construction and stuff like that. It really physically, the physical stuff is tough. But I know I have a couple of buddies who are working longer.
Yeah, sorry, not wrong with the mentality that they should be working longer. They want to, but just the fact that people aren't comfortable enough to retire at the set age that they should. They paid into their Social Security. They were supposed to save their money in their 401k. And many did those things. They just don't find it enough to make ends meet now.
Well, the other side of it, and we had the retirement conversation last week. When should you retire? Should you retire? Give up working? And there are some who I think do it because they want to be active in retirement, and they do know that they're valued. I've got an uncle who works at an apple orchard in the fall because he likes doing it. I think it's helpful in retirement, and I think they love having him around because he's a great worker. So there's a good side to this too. I think finding places where you can fit in the economy, give yourself a little more breathing room, and by the way, great places to mentor young people too. If you think that's a problem in the economy, go out there and help some young people.
And it's important for employers to make sure that you allow those older workers to stay employed based on their needs, say part-time employment rather than fully retiring.
Right.
And I speak about like my father's GP. He worked for one of those kind of doctor's practices that had been bought up by a local hospital system, Centra Health. Awful. And I say that because of the way they've treated my father. And his longtime GP he wanted to go part-time, and they said, there's the door. Don't let it hit you where the good Lord split you, and made him leave. And so he's working at like a minute clinic. Like an hour and a half from my dad's house. My dad drives an hour and a half to go see his longtime physician, which Centra Health would not let him continue to work part-time. So make room for people who still want to work, but who just don't want to work 50 hours a week.
Amen.